Namaste everyone. Thank you for joining in this video. So today I will be speaking a bit on, the insights about retrograde Jupiter. Okay. And in the last video on retrogression, a few people asked me, what retrograde Jupiter and what retrograde Saturn mean, because those are the two planets that have the biggest influence or impact in each of our lives. Okay. So retrograde Saturn, I've already covered the topic in a previous video. So we'll go go to my just go to my channel and see about retrograde Saturn. I've given a few insights on retrograde Saturn. So this is about retrograde Jupiter and how it behaves if Jupiter becomes retrograde. Okay, but before we get into the topic, kindly subscribe to the channel, like the content, share it with your friends if you find it useful, and do let me know your feedback in the comment section because it really means a lot. Okay, now if you're watching this video for the first time, please go back to the previous video which was uploaded a day before explaining what retrogression is. Okay, and as a matter of fact, retrograde planets are not so simple to judge. Okay, and retrograde planets mean deaths that are brought from a past life by the soul, and they incline a person to take repeated lessons on their karaka or indicators, and this can complicate the life of a native in a number of ways. Okay, now the starting point is a retrograde planet always shows its qualities and properties more clearly than a direct one. Okay, it is always pronounced on the horoscope. As a result, it attracts attention, and in the character or behavior of the native, it can loudly declare itself. Okay, but how exactly a retrograde planet manifests itself largely depends on the sthana bala. That means the positional strength. Okay, but in a number of ways, it can increase several good or negative qualities. Okay, now while judging retrograde planets, it's very important that you know the karaka of that retrograde planet. That means you must know what this planet is responsible for. Okay, so as a rule, a retrograde planet slows down the development in the life of the native in its category. Okay, for example, Jupiter is the karaka for children, karaka for health and happiness of the natives. So all these directions of life will be realized either with delay or with several attempts over many years. Okay, and a person having Jupiter retrograde may try to get rich or achieve financial independence several times in a lifetime and then roll back again due to failure. There may also be several unsuccessful attempts to become parents. Okay, now if Jupiter is strong in Sthanbal, for example, Jupiter is in the sign of Cancer or Sagittarius or Pisces, then the native will achieve his goals with greater success than, as compared to a retrograde Jupiter in a weak sign like in Capricorn or like in Taurus. Okay, a retrograde Jupiter can also repeat situations in a person's life related to religion. Okay, for example, a person may attempt to adopt a particular religion, and in the end, it can be maybe 2 or 3 or even 4 attempts before a person finally establishes himself or herself in a particular religious path. Okay, now Jupiter, we have to understand that a planet is always strong in when it is retrograde. Okay, so such a planet will always direct its energy inward. Okay, that means it can manifest itself on the inner plane of a person. For example, outwardly, the person may seem to be not religious, not observing the law and moral norms, but inside it will be extremely important for that person to follow the law, to lead the right way of life. Okay, like being deeply religious and devoted to the Lord and so on. Okay, similarly, if Jupiter is weak or has a weak sthanbal and Jupiter is retrograde, then such a person can hide his inappropriate behavior deep inside, or such a person can also show off in front of others to demonstrate his or her spiritual level and seem correct. Okay, but he can neglect those spiritual duties, as well as he can have a deep sense of contempt for all the universal laws. That means the law of karma and so on. Okay, now Jupiter is a guru, a teacher who transfers knowledge and gives grades to students. Jupiter determines what is right and what is wrong, who is right and who is wrong. Okay, and it gives us the energy of optimism, a philosophical attitude towards life. It teaches us to separate the bad from the good. It gives us an understanding of morality and ethics and allows us to evaluate the level of ethics. Okay, so with a strong Jupiter, people are very strong in these matters. People having a strong Jupiter, they will have a high sense of morality and ethics. They will easily know how to separate the bad from the good. Okay, so when Jupiter is retrograde in the chart, a person has an amazing instinct for law and order. Okay, such a person may not know the laws by heart, but you know just goes just goes out there and relies on inner feelings. Determines where the line is not to be crossed, and also simply identifies those people who violate the generally accepted rules of law or the society. That is the reason I have seen a lot of people who are in the police service. Now, police profession is governed by Mars, but these people usually have a retrograde guru in the chart. Okay. The problem is because Jupiter is a teacher, and because Jupiter has the duty of spreading the light of knowledge, these people can sometimes be and sometimes be caught in controversy, or sometimes end up giving unnecessary advice. Okay, so be very careful. If you have a Jupiter retrograde in the chart, ask people if they actually need your advice. If they don't, then don't give advice. Okay. The other disadvantages of of a retrograde Jupiter are fanaticism and dogmatism based on rules and social laws. Okay, so it could also be religious fanaticism, but this happens usually when both Jupiter and Ketu get retrograde. Okay, and these people, as I said, they have a very strong sense of morality, and as a result, it's almost impossible to bribe such people or to convince them of your own point of view. Okay, and sometimes a retrograde Jupiter can also cause errors in judgment. Okay, because the assessment of a person's internal qualities may be too hasty or completely distorted. Okay, again, if Jupiter is retrograde in the chart, a person can also end up making mistakes while choosing a spiritual mentor or a guru. And in other cases, there could be several spiritual mentors or gurus in a person's life. Okay, and the same thing can also be attributed to learning something. For example, relearning the same discipline or going for a number of degrees. I've seen a person who has almost 5 degrees after his name. Retrograde Jupiter, I've also seen situations where a person having retrograde Jupiter has to relearn the same thing several times from different mentors and teachers. Okay, now a retrograde planet will also show its effects in the signs that it rules. So Jupiter, governing the house of Sagittarius and Pisces, will also give its effect in with regards to the areas of life these houses are connected with. Okay, and most likely there would be repeated attempts or repetition of situations. Okay, say for example, say in the 7th house is that of Sagittarius and Jupiter is retrograde. Okay, in such a case, there could be a issue with remarriage, or a sexual partner could end up giving you a lot of karmic lessons. Okay, or sometimes you could be in a conversation with your spouse or with your partner, and all of a sudden you will feel that you have gone through the situation before. It's like a deja vu happening for you. Okay, for example, say again, Jupiter is retrograde and the 10th house is Pisces, right? So in that case, the realization of a career can be difficult. A person can try several types of activities, like each time starting from scratch, again fall, again roll back, and then again come up the career ladder. Okay. So what to do if Jupiter is retrograde in the chart? Okay, first of all, stop giving unnecessary advice to people. Okay, and then while interacting with people, be open-minded enough to consider the opinions of other people. Look at their personalities and evaluate the qualities of others for a little longer than usual. Okay, do not become a victim of religious fanaticism. Okay, don't be a fanatic associated with any kind of religion or any kind of movement or any kind of ideology. Okay, and then for people having retrograde Jupiter, they want everything in their life to be perfect. But then you have to admit that this is not a perfect world. There is a place for wrongness in this world. Okay. And, you know, a person also has a very deep sense of justice if Jupiter is retrograde. So if Jupiter is actually retrograde in the chart, you have to let go of attempts to achieve justice in this world. Okay. You have to accept that the world is an unfair place. Okay. And then finally, you also should look inside yourself frequently and find the bad qualities that you need to get rid of. Okay. So this is my assessment of a retrograde Jupiter. Do let me know what you feel. If you have a retrograde Jupiter in the chart, do leave behind your feedback in the comment section and do let me know if the same things have also happened to you. Okay. So thank you very much. That's all from me in this video. If you need a consultation regarding your chart or any other issue that you are facing for which you need a solution, kindly reach out at a number that is given in the description box. Okay. Thank you so much. Namaste. Om Gurave Namaha.